Hello and welcome back to Say Radio Marin. I'm your host, Kimberly Escobar, joined with your co-host,
Annalie Reyes.
And on today's show, we have a special guest, Lindsey Smith. And today she will be talking about her journey in Peace Corps and her trip going to Belize and where it has led her now and her volunteer work within the community. Would you like to introduce yourself, Lindsey?
Hi, my name is Lindsey Smith. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Thank you. Okay, so before we get started, we're going to go with a little icebreaker question. And my question for today is, what is your favorite summer snack? Who wants to go first? Lindsey?
Okay, I'll answer with watermelon, even though I've only had watermelon once this summer.
Okay.
Or smoothies.
Smoothies.
I would say the same thing. For me, personally, I really love watermelon with tahini.
Oh, yeah.
It just, it melts in my mouth. I don't know why. It's just so good.
Spice it up.
It's a good combination that it's very unique from other fruits with tahini, personally. So, yeah, I would say that.
Okay. I would say smoothies as well. And then recently, every few days, I've been eating a lot of mochi balls, the vanilla ones, but not from any store, just from the Asian market. But yeah, I always just go there.
I should try out. You should take me there.
Yeah. Wait, have you been there?
No.
The Asian market? It's right by Whole Foods.
Those were really popular in college.
Yeah. And it's the mochi balls there authentic because it's made specifically from.
I should definitely check it out.
Yeah, they're really good. Okay. So now we'll get started on our questions for Lindsey. And before we get started, as we mentioned, she is a part of Peace Corps. Can you describe what that is and how you got involved?
So the Peace Corps is basically an organization that was so as far as my research has gone, an organization in coalition with the government, the United States government, that was started back with teamwork with President Kennedy, and meant to strengthen bonds with other countries and to serve. Nowadays, it's meant to serve and helps a lot of young professionals gain experience in other international countries that are quite different from the United States. And I think I heard about it in college, but I always wanted to do an international, work internationally and work abroad since I was in middle school. And this just happened to be one that I was heard about a little bit more throughout college and from friends. So that's the one that I applied for first.
Thank you for describing a little bit more about Peace Corps. I think I've heard of it before, but
yeah, me too. But I can't really.
But I can't remember if I did or not. But it does sound interesting. I was just wondering, have you ever studied abroad in your college years, or is this your first time going out in a country and volunteering?
So I never studied abroad. I knew people that studied abroad in junior college and also in when I transferred for college. But sometimes you would try to get out of those programs because they were pretty much completely funded by the student themselves, and I didn't have the funds for that. Otherwise, I would have jumped at the opportunity. And also, with health majors, it can be kind of hard to find study abroad programs.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience because I'm planning to study abroad next year. And I have to, freshman year was my goal to study abroad. But then I realized I needed 1 year planning ahead. And so I was just planning it out. And since I was pre-med, I had to do all my prereqs before going to study abroad just to make sure I'm a good timeline to apply for medical school right after my graduation. And then I also had to do my prereqs for public health. And so I had to see whether or not I can make it or not to study abroad. And it's just very complicated, but it's possible.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with the major. It might be hard, but this is a really cool experience, Peace Corps, because you get to volunteer. But do they offer you food or do you have to pay off?
So pretty much all of your expenses are paid for, but you're supposed to live at a modest level and it's supposed to be pretty equal to how the average citizen in that country is living. So you arrive there and they put you in a hotel. They pay for that for the first few days. Then you live with a family that is a host family during your pre-service training in the country for almost 3 months. And they're supposed to provide you with food, your roof over your head. The Peace Corps does provide you with a bike to get around for transportation and like a really small allowance. So, I mean, some people have said it's even pretty affordable in some countries to live similarly to the conditions we have in the United States, but the Peace Corps doesn't put you in those type of situations because, the average person in that country might be making less money. So your living conditions are supposed to be lower than here. So that you're not like supposed to be seen above everyone else that you're working with and helping with. But yeah, you'll definitely have enough food to survive. Those that are like vegetarian or different eating restrictions, they may have to supplement it a little bit with their own funds. But I'm sure that's really affordable.
Oh man, I'm vegetarian, so
I feel like, do you get to like meet your family, your host family before? Or no, you just meet them that
I don't
day?
think you do. Like I just got in messaging connection with the other volunteers like 2 weeks ago.
And you don't get to like text them or anything?
Not the host family. So that differs sometimes from choosing your roommates in college.
Yeah.
Or it could be different than finding your own abroad volunteer program. Because maybe you could start a connection ahead of time. And maybe that's how the government kind of makes a lot of checks and balances. So you're not in full autonomy.
Yeah.
I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but so basically they're the ones in charge of everything. You just apply and then you just arrive there and then they tell you what you're planning to do for your volunteer.
Yeah. So a lot of times it works that way with the Peace Corps, and it's definitely changed a lot over the past 50 years. Especially now with technology, most countries have cell phones, no matter where you are. But for the country that I'll be going to, they recently changed the ministry that they're working with and reevaluated the needs for that country. So they actually already told us what we're going to be working on. But you don't know which region in the country that you'll be placed in until about a month into arriving there.
Oh, so what will you be working on?
So they're implementing or already got started implementing this YES program. Youth Empowered by Sports is what it stands for. So it's going to be in coalition with all the schools out there. So it's actually what's kind of unique about this country and what they're doing right now. You're not going to be in. It's not quite that. It's a little bit more of an urban area typically, because I'm not working on agriculture or like running water going or simple things like that. So it might be more where those kids are walking to, the more urban area that kids are walking to go to school. So it's kind of like being similar along the lines of like athletic directors. So there's about 25 volunteers in my cohort, and we'll be dispersed around 8 different like school districts or cities in Belize. And so it'll be a couple volunteers in each area, basically kind of working similar to athletic directors out there, like teaching the kids in school the benefits of sports and how the mental benefits. So it's a little bit along the lines of health education combined with really getting them to gain their confidence through sports and see, really discover their potential, because you're going to be traveling all over the country for competitions and really bringing these kids' talents to the forefront. And, you know, who knows, they could be competing in other countries down the road.
Wow, I think
really exciting. Sorry.
No, yeah, I agree with Kim. It sounds exciting, and I feel like you're really gonna make an impact
on the children.
Yeah, on the children. Yeah. So I'm excited for them. And what about the language? How are you gonna be able to communicate with the youth?
Oh, is the language Spanish? I was gonna ask that.
So that's a really good question. The main language out there is English because of who they were conquered by years ago before they gained independence. But there is a large actually a growing population that speaks Spanish out there, because a lot of the regions go back to like Mayan, and because there's a continued, like a progressing amount of individuals, especially kids, from what I've read online, coming from Guatemala to Belize to go to school. And even immigrating over to Belize from Guatemala. And then we'll also be working on learning Creole dialect. So I don't know if that's I don't think it's considered a language, but like a dialect. And so actually the first 3 months out there is, when you arrive, is pre-service training. And so that's basically all day for like 4 days a week. And half of the day during every week, you're going to be doing language training. Because maybe we'll be in a region that's located along the border of Guatemala. And so it's going to be constant training on Spanish and Creole dialect. So I hear it's pretty intense, because out here, unfortunately, our language classes are not quite as consistent. Like maybe, especially in college, it's at the most 3 days a week.
Yeah.
But over there, it will be 4 hours a day, and you'll be doing like plays in Spanish, doing presentations that will be due like 4 hours later, not a week later.
Wow.
This sounds intense.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool that you're going to learn like a dialect. So you're going to learn another language. That's pretty cool. My other question was talking about Peace Corps and all of this and your journey that is soon to come. How can people apply for this, and how's like the application journey with this?
Yeah.
Since I'm sure it's like competitive.
Yeah. They say that it's, I mean, when you Google it, they say that it's pretty competitive. I think most programs, you have a much higher chance if if an individual has completed college, maybe coming right out of college. There are other programs where you could be in college. But for this one, if you've completed a bachelor's degree, that really helps. And so you just go onto the website and start going through the application process. But first you would look at what sector you want. So they have like youth development, health sector, which could be everything from, and then you'll look at by country how that goes, because a lot of countries are all the way from health education to like sanitation. So those are quite different. There's agriculture. So I'd say somebody should look over the exact country and sector that they want to do. Or you can also have a little bit of higher chances by not picking your country. And they will put you where volunteers are most needed. But on your essay, if you do pick the country and your sector, they will have you write an essay, and you just write how your experiences make you qualified for the position, basically.
Mm-hmm. And did you choose Belize?
Yes. So I chose Belize. I I was kind of between 3 different countries.
Which one was?
It was between Guatemala, Belize, and Peru.
Peru would have been perfect.
Yes, funny. But I did not. I actually applied 2 years ago also.
Oh.
And I didn't know much about Peru at that point, and I knew some people who had. Well, I looked at the job description out there, and it was sanitation, and that just like didn't excite me too much. But then I've looked at volunteer reviews out there, and they do enjoy the country a lot because they say the cities are pretty similar to the United States. And then with Guatemala, when you volunteer through the Peace Corps, they have a curfew of being home by dark. So that just seemed like it would be more strict than a country that doesn't have a curfew. So
They have a curfew for the volunteers?
Yes. Something about maybe the area that they're volunteering in and
maybe
the risks that they've encountered. I don't know. And I just, like many years ago, I wanted to go volunteer in like across the world, maybe Africa or something. But then now I wanted to be a little bit closer and somewhere where you could more likely go back more often when you, even when your volunteer program is over. Maybe you want to go back and see the places where you were living.
Yeah, it can be very sentimental, like just going back and seeing how much it has improved, and or just like reflecting back, like what you did in the past, and it's an amazing opportunity, I would say. But I'm just curious, do you know anyone else who participated in Peace Corps, or are you just going in?
So, I had, around when I applied, I had a cousin that applied, and she actually pulled out, like, her application about a month before leaving. I think she got a job that she was pretty interested in and decided to stay last minute. That was going to be going to Africa, and then I know somebody else that's a lot older than me and went actually to Africa many years ago, like 20 years ago. And they got malaria over there. And
malaria? What's that?
It's a disease
that I think you get commonly through insects.
Oh yeah,
Mosquitoes.
yeah. So malaria. I think the insects lay their eggs in
you, and they travel. They carry the disease, right?
Right.
So I think this individual took down their insect net to use it for something else.
And then they got
malaria, but now they have malaria pills and stuff. And then my dad's friend's daughter volunteered somewhere in the Middle East. So I spoke with her a little bit, but honestly, I heard a lot of more honest information through Reddit. and I met a couple when I was in Santa Cruz that told me a little bit more honest information, because people can be pretty vague.
Yeah, that is true. Wait, is the Peace Corps a whole, like, is it just U.S. based?
I think it is, yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it says that you have to be a U.S. citizen to apply.
Okay. And how long is this program?
So it's 2 years, and where you will be placed, but the first 3 months when you arrive is training. So that's before you're actually, so they like have a sworn in ceremony where you're actually becoming an official volunteer. And I think that's more after when you complete your training, and your half of the training is also like education and history on the culture and the community before you go to the community you'll be working in.
Yeah. And you recently found out that you got in, right?
So I actually found out a while ago that I got in, and then they said that the organization said that they would be first taking those that were sent home during COVID, because there was a cohort that was sent home about halfway through their process out there because of COVID, and then it took a while for the Peace Corps to send their volunteers back out to their countries of service. And so I had to wait a while. And they were like, do you want us to consider you for the next cohort? So I said yes, because you always want to have your opportunities there. You can always say no. And you can say no all the way up till the day that you leave. So I just always kept it open as a yes.
And then now it's definitely.
And then I fully decided a few weeks ago.
And what are the emotions? How do you feel leaving?
It's definitely pretty scary, especially just because a couple years went by after my application. So at that point, it was 2021. COVID was finishing up. Everyone was kind of doing their own thing. I had newly moved into my own place. And now I'm a little bit more situated with my life. So it's a big difference. When you have a flow and a pattern in your lifestyle. So now we're all in 2023. So we've gotten a little bit more settled into the life after COVID. And then you're being kind of uprooted again.
Wait, so you applied in 2021, but you had to reapply again?
So they left my application there. So I didn't really reapply. They just kept it in the system. And they would send periodic emails. I would say that the communication with like government abroad programs are not the best. I've heard this about like Fulbright, or there's another abroad organization. So I would get periodic emails every couple months saying like, we are considering sending a cohort for this date. And then that date was actually changed to 4 months later.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Sorry. And you said that, okay. You said that your life has been settling in, but you're going on this 2-year volunteer trip. How are you considering like your future career goals when you like come back, or anything that you plan ahead that might change because of this trip that you're going?
Well, I definitely, with my career goals, I want to keep like my eggs in all baskets, not just this organization. Like, yes, you'll gain experience, but living in a metropolitan area like the Bay Area, you kind of have to, like, for example, volunteer at multiple places. When you're applying for a job or a program, they want to see that you haven't just been doing one thing the whole time. So really the only difference it will have is that career-wise is that my job with the state right now will it will pause the amount of years that I get counting over there, because that builds up towards state jobs build up towards a pension. And I mean, so it won't make too much of a difference because I'll be volunteering over there. So,
And so when you come back, I know you said that you were like thinking of getting your doctorates, or is it? Yeah.
So I'm actually strongly considering going back to school for my master's in social work in MSW, and kind of touching on the last question. So to keep all the options open, I'm planning on sending out that application, at least for the first time. You never know what happens with choices, and these programs can be pretty small. Sending out my application this coming school year for the when the application opens, which will be in October, and there's definitely Wi-Fi in Belize, but so I would find out next spring if I get accepted. So I'm planning on applying to a couple different programs, but hoping for San Jose State, which is where I actually went for my bachelor's. And so I would find out in the spring if I got accepted, and then I would more than likely come back for that program, since all of my experience has led me to doing that type of professional work.
And you don't So you're kind of planning to end the trip early, in a way.
So the thing is, even if I came back early, I would still get the experience. One of the main big drawbacks is that it could have an effect on the community, because doing these type of volunteer programs, you don't want to just think, oh, I'm going out there to use them and get experience. I'm not sure, since I'm not out there yet, what the effect would be leaving. Luckily, I'd be able to leave after they complete their school year, because we work in collaboration, like at the same time as the school year over there. So at least I would have completed one school year over there with the children. But yeah, that's one of the worries, and one problem with leaving early would be kind of abandoning a community. But I will be, no matter what, leaving in a couple years. So that's something to look into. But I definitely have a big passion for social work.
I think, at least for me, I see that you're opening your options, and I think even if you do 1 year, I think that's a good idea for me personally, because you get that experience of how it was volunteering in Belize, and if you do get into your master's for social work, you're gonna have that experience already of volunteering in a different place, and it's a different experience than volunteering here, just because it's a different environment, a different community, different dialect or language, and I think it's really cool just to meet new people and just learn from their perspectives, because everyone has unique perspectives. So it's really nice that you're being very courageous to go to a different country. Because,
Thank you.
Yeah, because not a lot of people decide to go to a different country and work, even volunteer. So it's really nice to see that you're willing to do that. But that's because you're passionate about it. So
yeah, definitely. And even I would be able to come back with the experience of living somewhere else, because I can't really say, like, I've been around many different populations, but I can't say that I've put myself to live in like anywhere outside of the Bay Area, really. And to actually live with two different families, that will be an experience. And to share my experiences and get to like learn the way that life works out there, and to live at that level, like to reduce my all the needs that we have out here will be different.
And I think it molds your character, just like by all these perspectives and life experiences that you go through. And I just wanted to ask, since you did say that your life is already like here, it's already settled. I know you're in a relationship, so how are you going to manage that? Because for me, when I hear that you're going to be out for 2 years, it's like...
I know, I feel like I couldn't. Like maybe a few months, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny. A lot of people ask, so are you guys going to break up? Like as if it's like a mathematical equation. And I'm like, no, like that's so awkward. Like this isn't just like a job I'm quitting. So I did a lot of research, like more Reddit again, like asking people or seeing who volunteered, or like Googled who is like a Peace Corps volunteer or an international volunteer, or I'm part of these groups on Facebook for other women that travel abroad and do short periods of work abroad or travel for a couple months. And I've seen the question or seen where couples talk about how they travel abroad. And at least I'm a little bit older than just like straight out of college. And I can say that you definitely have to be stable in your relationship. It's not like I've experienced this yet. So it's not from firsthand experience of going and succeeding. But I think that if you just push along, that's what I'm thinking. And I have a very encouraging boyfriend that you wouldn't want to stay and skip experiences no matter what it is, whether it's taking a job somewhere that's moving even an hour away. You wouldn't want to be like, oh, yeah, I had the experience to go a summer in like New York City or somewhere. But that passed up because I was in a relationship. So, because I definitely think people would skip even a summer. But yeah, even being apart for like a few days is tough. So I'll have to just not be like a whiny girlfriend. And they were clear with us that we'll be able to like FaceTime, and the internet is fine over there for the most part. And I'll be coming back, and I have gotten perspective from other people who have made it work, like people that I volunteered with, and people, other individuals out here in Marin that have made a long distance relationship work. Because, so if I were taking a full-time job across the country, I would have different thoughts, but or in another country, anything. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So this is temporary. I only have a visa for a certain amount of time. It's not recommended to just start working out there without a program that comes from the United States, because it's pretty impoverished country, and it's hard to make it. So I'm definitely coming back. I have family here. So I would have a different perspective if I were moving permanently. But I'm coming back, so just wait.
Just tell them wait for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
rooting.
I'm rooting for you guys.
Thanks. It is very sad though. So
Yeah, I feel like
just push past the sadness.
yeah.
I think you're very mature in like your relationship, and I feel like you already have that let's say like positive attitude that you're gonna make it through. And I think that's what really counts within a relationship, that you guys both believe that you guys are gonna make it through. And it's just a temporary experience. And I like how you advocate how you should go out to different experiences and not have like be tied down to a certain place because of your partner. And it goes both ways with both the guy and the girl, or whatever the relationship is, that you guys are not tied down to a certain place, but like are open and trust each other to go to different places.
Yeah, I definitely think you have to have trust to do anything like that, because it would be a like, just imagine the experience, how that would be if there was not trust in the relationship. You'd be constantly worried, constantly like just concerned.
Yeah.
So
I feel like
trust.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like as you guys said, like you have to have a partner that's willing to push you to do something and not holding you back. I like that.
Yeah. So I would not as much. Everyone should do what they feel that they want to do, for sure, not listen to others' opinions. But if this were somebody just starting in college, or myself probably starting in college straight out of high school or something, I would not recommend it as much, because you change for one thing, you change a lot just doing any program, but also you change a lot in those early 20s years. And
I feel that I'm like in my early 20s, and I feel like I'm like rediscovering myself and just like owning my skin too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I changed a lot, and your goals change, everything. But
You grow.
Yeah, but I am 30, so I have ideas for my future, and those kind of change with your age.
Yeah, that is true. Okay, now we are gonna head into announcements and then we're gonna resume our talk. Okay, my first announcement is our career fair, which is hosted by us, Tay Radio. And our career fair is on August 3rd from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then you can RSVP at our website, the Multicultural Center, and just click Tay Radio. And the career fair is meant for youth ages 14 to 25 to come network with local organizations and just get connections, internships, job opportunities, whatever you need. We have that, and we'll be having food, and it's going to be a good time and a way for you to get connections. You want to add anything to that, Annalie?
Yeah, so we had the open mic today, but it is canceled today. So just wanted to let you guys know that. And the reservation RSVP is optional, but it's highly recommended. So we encourage you guys to reserve just so we have an idea of how much people are coming and we are well prepared.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And that's all for our announcements for today. And now we'll be coming back and talking more to Lindsey about her volunteer experiences and how that has impacted her life and changed her life in some ways. And my first question is, how long have you been volunteering?
I guess I've been volunteering for, on and off for about 10 years.
Oh, wow. It's a long time.
Yeah,
the years pass by.
And did it start with school? Like, did you start volunteering your volunteer journey because of like school requirements?
Yeah, I would say at first it started with school, but my school did not require volunteering. I wish it did, because there would probably be more opportunities then. I really just wanted to enhance my high school experience. I was going to school every day, doing the typical classes, history, English, math. It was the same thing every day, along with sports was the only exciting thing. So I wanted to get out into the community, meet anyone outside of those that I went to school with since I was 5 years old. So volunteering broadened my community. Even though back then in high school it was just Red Cross Club and LinkedIn or Linked Something Club, and it was like a volunteer interconnect or something, and that was like a volunteer group.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. I think, at least for me, when you say that you are looking to be part of a community, I think of the youth today, and I know a lot of youth like to stay at home and watch movies or be on their phone or just don't want to socialize. And it's interesting because a lot of them just do volunteer hours. And obviously I don't want to speak for every youth, but I see that it's like a trend on that, and I think there's like some effects with the pandemic because a lot of youth were just staying at home, and it caused a lot of social anxiety. And I just want to personally say that for that, like, we have a community where you shouldn't be afraid of speaking for yourself, and there shouldn't be no judgment in our community. We should all embrace ourselves in our own uniqueness. And when I hear your story of like you really want to go to the community, it's really nice to hear that, because you really feel like the warmth and the love of other people, just like getting to know them. And I think it's really cool how you thought of that, like when you were younger, in your younger ages.
Yeah, I think because growing up in the Bay Area, there's a little bit sometimes there's less of a connection because there's everyone's commuting to go somewhere. There's so many different cities. It's not really small town type of area. So the best way I think in the Bay Area or other big cities is to find where you can help out and help together, come together on projects or things.
Where are places you've volunteered? I'm sure it's a lot, but like where are like the biggest?
So I've always thought I should volunteer at more places, but that's kind of hard when you work full time too. Well, back when I was in junior college, I was doing like Habitat for Humanity. But when I was in like junior college or high school, it was more, or even getting my bachelor's in San Jose, it was more temporary volunteering. So it would be like a few months at a time. And I was just thinking today, like, really, you should go for the experience, not exactly the hours. Because for one thing, the experience is what you'll be able to talk about down the road. And if you just get like, I don't know, 100 hours, 80 hours, you're going to be filling the requirement, maybe like stopping in, taking your breaks on your phone, getting it done really, and it'll be something on your resume, but you won't be able to talk about it to people too much. So, I mean, Habitat for Humanity, but I can't say much about the individuals that were like a big part of that organization because I didn't really put in enough time to really get to know them. I hung out with or participated strongly with my friends that were volunteering in that group instead of meeting others too much that were already associated with that organization. And then like helped with a lot of food distributions in San Jose when I was going to school over there.
And I know you have a lot of experience volunteering, but which one would you say, I mean, it might be a hard question, but what would be your favorite experience so far from volunteering that you would want to share?
Well, I've had the most experiences, of course, here at the Multicultural Center of Marin.
Amazing.
Round of applause.
No, I mean, but I was given the opportunity, and at first in COVID, when we couldn't see almost anyone and barely go outside, and you had to limit your circle or whatever anyone wanted to call it. Back then and right before then, I started volunteering with the food distribution. And stuck with it during COVID. So that made an impact because you're seeing almost nobody during COVID, at least in the height of it. But we still were serving people and also making connections when you wouldn't really meet like the news or people that you know were talking about, oh, my child is like can't see anyone, I'm their only friend, or I only get to see my parents. But that was not the case for us volunteers. We got to have our social circle and people that were passionate about similar things, partaking in the community. So I would say overall it's been the food distribution with the Multicultural Center that's been the best because those that like facilitate it really give you autonomy and are not just checking you off a list as a volunteer showing up, which is what I experienced a lot in the past at other food distributions that I helped at, which I understand like it's a very chaotic, busy time at a food distribution, getting the food unloaded, being safe at the same time, and meeting new faces. But we're lucky to have a lot of the same faces volunteering at the food distribution and people that want to get to know those that they're serving the food to and not just clocking in like a day off of work to go volunteer. So we've had a lot of experiences there, and I've been able to do the projects that I came up with and be creative on my own through food distribution, which is pretty unique.
Yeah, I would say volunteering just makes you more humble in a way of like sharing that you're appreciated of what you have in life and being able to offer it to someone, your help without like being like without charging anyone, but like just doing it because you want to help. It comes from your heart. I feel like just like you wanting to volunteer and meet new people, it's amazing to see that from you. And I think MCM is because of MCM, because of you. Because MCM represents a whole group of people, and you're included in it, even including all the volunteers in the food pantry. It's just everyone makes their own part of how to represent MCM, and I'm really glad that you were able to volunteer at the food pantry. I'm sure you did a great impact, and I know Adrian's gonna miss, and I know a lot of people in the food pantry is gonna miss you because you're not gonna be here for 2 years.
Yeah.
So,
well, I can't wait to come back because it's pretty much always a great experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, it humbles you, but it also makes you feel like you can be yourself because of volunteering, because you see other people that may, like, it could be anyone that needs food one day. Especially these days after COVID, we can't, I don't know, like, unless you're making really great money, it's very hard to afford to go to the grocery store and spend $150 for like a week's worth of food that does not fill up a cart. So you can feel like it's okay to be yourself after volunteering, because it's not weird to need help sometimes. It's not weird to need maybe clothes sometimes when a piece of clothing is going for like $30 and you're making less than that an hour, or just to need some fresh food because you go to the store and you see that some of those ingredients that we hand out at food distribution are really expensive. And we're trying to preach for people to be healthy, but we need to make it affordable. It shouldn't be a privilege to be healthy.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on volunteering as well. I personally really love volunteering. I feel like you make a lot of connections, and aside from that, you stay humble, and that makes me also think, like, when you're helping someone from like the job that I have now, I work at a nursing home, and it really like helps me like see like how grateful I am, and it like sometimes like seeing the people who are there, it kind of makes me sad because a lot of them have like different diseases and like they're going through certain things, and it just helps me stay really humble and like appreciated of like where I am now and like the people around me and their health. So yeah. Oh, and I also wanted to highlight something that Lindsey has been doing at the food pantry. She would always bring in diapers for a lot of families, and she would give those out, which diapers can obviously just be really expensive. And yeah, I just wanted to appreciate her on that. And she also always brings in books, and she gives them out and she reads to the kids. She reads to them in Spanish and everything. It's so cute.
Yeah, I try.
that's really nice that you read in Spanish. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you can, at your place of work, you have your set duties that are in the job description. And maybe in your volunteer work, you're able to really go out and do the work that you can be creative and want to try out there. So it's a great benefit of volunteering.
Yeah.
I was given the opportunity, instead of in college, like you do one project, I have the opportunity to come up maybe once a month and do a project we want to do in the community. And I'll have some baby formula that I'm going to bring for this Saturday at food distribution.
Oh, for real?
There's really so many resources in the community.
Yeah, there really is.
It just takes like kind of a middleman to go out there and get the items. And I don't mind going and driving and getting some items from maybe a clinic that wants to donate diapers or formula, and just bringing it to where the need is. And people ask, like, oh, you still volunteer? Like, why are you going this weekend? Like, and I was thinking on my way here, like, I should tell them, like, try it out and you'll find out why.
No, it's really nice that you have this time to tell us a lot of your experiences before you leave. When exactly are you leaving?
So I will be catching some sort of plane on
Some sort of plane.
Yeah, they didn't see the communication. They did not send me the flight info yet, on September 3rd. So I also work from home right now, and I will be quitting that job in about a week and a half.
So
So you got some planning to do. Oh, what is your situation with like your living and like your apartment and all that? That's what I want to know since you're like leaving that as well. I'm sure you're not taking everything.
So I'll pretty much be subleasing my place as long as I can, my apartment. So it's definitely an easier thing to do, easier way to do international programs for a long period of time is if you live with your parents, but I don't. So I'll be subleasing it, and luckily my apartment came majority furnished. And I'll be boxing up some things, trying to part ways with my clothes as much as I can and give that away. Like tomorrow at food distribution.
oh, that's nice.
And we will see because I have about a month to pack it up.
What are you taking specifically? Because then, or like, how much are you allowed to take?
So you're allowed to take two duffel bags, like two type of bags that will be checked bags. And you're allowed to take a carry-on and you're allowed to take a personal item. So
What's your plan?
So far, I will be taking a personal item that's a backpack that I figured could carry also a weekend outfit because sometimes you go to the capital or different cities for like a tournament or a award ceremony. So I got that backpack, pretty much everything I get used that I will be traveling with. And I will be bringing a carry-on that's like a slightly similar to a backpacker's backpack, but not quite as fitted like that. Another bag that I actually was able to, somebody was giving away. And I will be checking at least one bag. Probably not the best candidate, but for this type of thing in this way that I'm very attached to things. So I'll bring as much clothes and like something that represents California and maybe like a little like hand fan too because it's going to be extremely hot there. And my toiletries and I don't know.
Are you bringing any pots
Oh, so
Pots?
or pans?
Actually, I do. I did. I was at the 99-cent store and bought some utensil plastic, like the washable, reusable plastic utensils that I'll be bringing. And if I can bring like a pot, I would, or like a pan, whatever.
Would they not
fit.
supply that? Like the...
So the family you live in at first, they'll have all that, but after that, a couple months later, you have the opportunity to get your own place, and they'll give you the place, but you have to like have some items that you want. So
Do they rent that or do you?
they do, or they give you like a certain expense for you to find it.
Oh, okay.
It's not out of your pocket, the money.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'll probably I have actually seen people recommend you bring some spices that you like with you.
Oh, yeah.
That you already cook with. We like our ranch here in California, so
You're going to take some ranch?
maybe.
Well, there's like those ranch powders, so
Oh yeah, true.
Maybe
That's a
that's
really good idea.
yeah,
So it doesn't spill.
so it
Right.
doesn't.
Explode in the pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be bringing some water shoes, and they say that really you can find almost everything over there.
What is the weather like over there?
So it's really tropical. And we're
Like-
coming into the rainy season. So a light jacket, to me it sounds a lot different than here in the Bay Area. So another reason why I'll be coming back, I'll be moving back in a couple of years.
Wait, why?
For the weather here.
Oh, I was like, I know that like Guatemala has like heavy rain.
It is, but it just depends on the area that you live. Because they're like in the coast, it's really hot and humid, and then like more up in the middle, it's like cold.
Yeah. They say for the most part it's going to be very humid.
I don't like
Sticky.
humid weather.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan either, but I'll give it a shot and then permanently live somewhere that's got the fog and
Yeah.
by the ocean over here.
But so have you like you experienced like living in a different country before? Traveling?
So not really. I have spent a few weeks in like Guatemala, or not Guatemala, in Guadalajara, in like the suburbs of, or like the country area near Guadalajara, like next to Epoch, and that, which, I mean, that was really just a short period of time, but I wasn't in a hotel at all those times that I was there. And so I got to experience almost nobody speaking English around me. Definitely people think that you go to Mexico and there will be always people that speak English, but not where I went. It was about 1 out of 50 where I was. So that was pretty isolating. But I really didn't, I think people would expect you to like, be rushing back to the United States. It was overall a good experience. And then I have been to Peru, but I stayed in hotels half the time, and I have not really actually lived anywhere abroad. So that will be a really big change.
That's so cool. Honestly, for me, when I hear about that, it just reminds me of me when I go to Guatemala. I recently went like in January, and I was with I went with my friend, and it was my first time going alone without my family, because usually I go with my mom and my sisters. But I went with my friend, and it was a really cool and unique experience. I went there to her house, and we had to take cold showers, so that was something that I wasn't used to. I always like take warm showers, and so I had to get used to taking the cold showers, and we had to cook outside. So we would cook plantains, and we also had to clean. Like the mops were just different. We would just use like a broom and then make a hole in a towel and just put on the towel on top of the broom and then just mop and then just like wash out the towel. And so it was a very unique experience. I felt like I did a lot of work, and it was very different from my type of work, because usually I just do more computer administrative work, I guess you can say. And it was more hands-on work for me going to Guatemala. So it was a very unique experience, but I enjoyed it. I think it makes me very grateful for the experience that I have here and the opportunities I have here. So
yeah, I had an experience a little bit like that when I went to Mexico. It was quite different than here. Like there was not even a cold shower. Like you just boiled your water, and then you would put it into a bucket, and then
pour yourself.
I remember I was like kind of cold, so I just got into my bucket and just stood there, so at least like part of me would be warm, and then you kind of like pour it over yourself a little bit. And definitely big differences with the bathroom.
Yeah.
So that could be, I would say, research the bathroom situations before. Septic is not like the same as here. So that was like, it was a lot different, but I wasn't complaining because it was warm. So
Yeah.
it was slightly warm. So if it was freezing, I had to do the bucket shower thing. That would be trouble, but it wasn't. So I was like, I'll be back home in like a week. But could you imagine moving to
For
where
2
you
years.
were, or permanently, whatever, where you were visiting?
No. No.
Yeah, you're like, I want my bed.
Yeah.
I was like,
I feel like I would be like totally just like homesick, and like I don't know, I feel like also in humid weather I just feel sick overall.
Yeah.
And then okay, we're about to end. We have like 2 minutes left, and I have like one more question for you, Lindsey. Okay, it's like kind of 3-ish. Okay, what are you most like excited for and like most scared of at the same time? And then the other question is, what is something you'd want to say for someone who wants to volunteer?
Okay, I'm most excited for working on learning languages better, than having a bigger opportunity to learn language a little bit more than here. And for really seeing the culture out there and getting to visit areas all different areas that you probably won't see as just a tourist. Scared of?
Yes.
That would be just of like definitely missing home and people and being the times I'll probably be crying.
No.
Then for volunteering, what I recommend, I would say just go for it. Like reach out to whatever organization you see. You're driving down the street and there's like, you see a lot of them. There's the Ritter Center, all kinds of things. Go and grab an application to apply to volunteer and just like finish it as soon as you can, not like a week later. Turn it in right there on the spot and just start volunteering, even if it's 1 day a week. So go for it.
Okay. Thank you. That's all for today's show. Thank you so much, Lindsey, for being on the show. We'll have you back on sometime soon when you come back. We'll miss you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.